The Locked On Podcast Network presents the Big 6 in 60. The 6 biggest national sports stories from the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Get the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now with the biggest story in sports.
The Dallas Cowboys got a season-changing win in Week 7.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast.
And this felt like kind of a season-altering win. And we talked about this on Friday. You lose this game and you drop to 2-4-1. It's going to be really hard to bounce back with their upcoming schedule. But at 3-3-1 with Washington and now the Giants behind you in the division, feels like you're doing okay after 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing too that to kind of specifically point to is it's the way that you won the game, right? And the manner in which you won the game. This is a very balanced win, which is shocking and surprising considering the state of where the team was going into this game. Obviously, we expected the Cowboys offense to explode with the re-addition of CeeDee Lamb and Booker back into the lineup. But I don't think any of us kind of expected the sort of major changes that we saw on the defensive side of the ball, from personnel to scheme to a bunch of different stuff, and all of it working as successfully as it did. So I do think that this kind of changes the angles in a lot of different ways, because it's funny you said season changing, because they changed everything from you saw so far this season on defense. It really was a huge change. So yeah, it does kind of make you reevaluate where this team is. You look around the rest of the landscape of the NFC and the rest of the landscape of the NFC East, and you think, the Cowboys still have a chance here for sure.
Yeah, you just wanted to, stay in the hunt by at least Halloween. And regardless of what happens next week against Denver, you will be. Like, you're going to be in the mix with things in the NFC, and that's what we were hoping for. Let's talk about some other things from this game. The Cowboys win 44-22. The offense scored 17 points in the first quarter. I think it was 10 points in the second quarter, 17 in the third quarter. And yet there were times in this game that I felt like the offense stalled a little bit. They had a chance to really put Washington out of their misery, and they couldn't quite do that. And I think that just goes to show our expectations for this Cowboys team.
I was going to say,
any possession that doesn't end in a touchdown feels like a major disappointment.
Which it shouldn't, because that's a ridiculously high bar to hold a team to. The performance that the Cowboys offense put out there tonight was absolutely ridiculous, incredibly impressive. And I think, a lot of it is, like you said, the standard that has been put out there. But I think, we asked ourselves, after seeing what this offense had done the last few weeks without CeeDee Lamb, well, how could it possibly get better once CeeDee Lamb gets back? And I think we got that the question answered pretty quickly. You basically had both receivers teetering on almost 100 yards receiving in the first half, and you almost had I think it was like 70 yards rushing while you're lead back, before halftime. So I think that, considering the fact that we thought that we were going to need to score a touchdown on every single drive in order to win the game, I think they didn't quite keep up to that pace, obviously. But I think overall, when you just look at the performance that they were able to put out there, just ridiculous what this Cowboys offense is doing right now.
And what I really meant, there was a point in this game in the second quarter where the Cowboys were up 17-8 after the 74-yard touchdown to CeeDee Lamb, which that was quite the play. Yeah. They got the ball back again. They were up by 9 points. And then they went 6 plays, 21 yards punt. The defense got off the field. They stopped the Commanders on 4th down. And then it was 8 plays, 11 yards field goal. The defense had a 3-and-out on the next possession. 6 plays, 11 yards. You just felt like with the defense getting 3 consecutive stops, going back to the end of the first quarter, like that was a chance to really put them away. It didn't happen, but eventually the talent won out for the Cowboys offense, because there was a stretch later on in this game where they went touchdown, field goal, and that was it.
I think the reason it didn't really feel like it was ever in jeopardy is because even the situations in which the Cowboys weren't able to convert or score touchdowns, it was usually because of very questionable penalties that felt like kind of,
or just mental mistakes, like Jalen Tolbert making a hold, or Jaden Blue false start, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think the 2 holding penalties, which Yeah, on the edge, and then obviously, the false start. There's no way around that. But and then I think they obviously the safety that kind of is it really just made it look like this was a closer performance than it was. But you feel like, man, if their special teams doesn't put the ball right on the 1 yard line, you don't even really notice a negative 2 yard run as much as obviously you did there. So, but overall, I think outside of negative plays where Cowboys got penalties or, were, just running the ball for putting themselves behind the sticks a little bit early, they were mostly just dominant on almost every single drive. And it just felt like it was inevitable that they were going to break through, at the end.
Let's talk about Dak Prescott in this game. 21 of 30 for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also had a couple big runs in this one to keep the chains moving. I thought there were times where he was a little bit antsy in the pocket. He was, taking some hits that he didn't need to take. But again, you're talking about very minor criticisms for a guy that has his 4th game this year of 3 or more touchdowns with no interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, he's the MVP right now, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I feel like I've watched enough of NFL football to kind of go and see the other key players, and I think Daniel Jones is doing some interesting things with the Colts, well. But I just think as far as level of difficulty and what he's being asked to do and the way he's performing just consistently week to week, I just think Dak Prescott's playing better than anybody else in the NFL.
He just has total command. This is the bet. It reminds me a lot of 2014 Tony Romo, where he's healthier than what Romo was. Again, knock on wood during that year, but Romo got to a point where there was just nothing that he hadn't seen before, and he just knew where everybody was going to be at. And that team had a more talented offensive line. This team has way better playmakers than what that offense had.
Yeah, and I think the offensive line's getting better too. Like that, and since it's so young, as it gets better, that group's going to continue to get better. Which was actually the opposite kind of situation with the other Cowboys, right? As it felt like that offensive line started to get older and older. This offensive line is incredibly young, so you hope that maybe they can continue to age and get better, even better as the season goes on, which it would be ridiculous.
All right, so we're going to talk about the Cowboys defense in just a little bit, but sitting at 3-3-1. You and I kind of had a conversation a couple weeks ago that if you were going to go out and make some trades and be aggressive, you needed to be at least 4-2 after the first 6 games. After the first 7 games, you're 3-3-1, so maybe a little bit behind pace. But I think because the NFC has so many teams in that, 3.5 to 5 win range, you really do feel like you're in the thick of things. Now, I know their schedule gets hard, but I do like that the Cowboys have managed to kind of stay afloat here.
I also think that back half of the schedule doesn't look quite as daunting as it did before the season. I think that some of these teams that you've seen, Denver is going to be a tough game. I'm not trying to imply that, but it does feel like they, especially after what we saw with the Giants, that it doesn't look like they're unbeatable in Denver, and some of these other games. So I do think that it's just the angles of all this and the wins and losses that you have marked down preseason, right. They're going to change just because of the way that all these teams have changed.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Well, who's ready for Game 7 in the 6?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast.
Well. If that wasn't a game, fellas, 6-2 Blue Jays. They come out and take Game 6 in a do-or-die situation, and they're teeing themselves up for another one because tonight is going to be, I don't know, my heart might stop working. I might lose all of my hair. The boys are going to be in trouble, but not on the Blue Jay side of things. We're hoping that they're going to come out on top. Game 7, it's sort of the moment all baseball fans wait for. As always, I'm Braden Iwasko. He's Carter First. Skylar Peters joining us. You can find us on Twitter. Braden5 Iwasko. Carter First 2. Skylar A. Peters as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Big thank you to all you guys. We hit the 4,000 mark. So, that's all to you guys. We appreciate it. All the baseball Blue Jays fans out there, thanks a ton. I appreciate the comments. I think we got like 600 of them. A lot of people complaining about Brennan Little, which is fair enough. But let's keep that in the past. Let's focus on the ball game that was, and then tee up Game 7 for you guys. We're going to talk the bullpen. A little bit of George Springer because he didn't look good. But we'll talk more about that later on. Carter, my man, they grabbed this one. What a just exhilarating game. Trey Savage again on the bump, puts out an absolute showing.
Yeah, exactly the way I drew it up. You score early, you get exactly what you want from Trey Savage. I have said it a bunch of times. I'm not really worried about what Trey Savage is going to do. He's going to get the whiffs. He's going to get the chases. He's going to get the strikeouts like he has every single other start. Maybe this one I was a little bit more worried about, hey, the moment. This is, a massive moment, obviously. It's an elimination game. It's the guy's 6th start. Like, that's, I keep going back to, like, the starts that this guy's made in the major leagues and just how effective he is. Absolutely ridiculous. At this point, there's no moment that's going to be too big for Trey Savage. So, yeah, credit to him and credit to the offense for, once again, putting up runs early. I would have liked them to, score a little bit more when they had the opportunities, but Aston Barger, big day. You keep adding on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. once again. This guy's been absolutely ridiculous this entire postseason. They took care of business. They did what they needed to do, and now the biggest game in a very long time for the Toronto Blue Jays. I am nervous, excited, terrified, pretty much every single emotion. I just can't wait until we get the baseball game on Monday.
Well, and, talking about big moments and probably since the last big moment, you got to give congratulations also to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, he hits the sixth home run here in the postseason as he ties Joey Bats and Joe Carter at 6 for most in a single postseason. So congratulations to him. It was an absolutely amazing game. But Peters, will start here. Trey Savage, just how electric was he tonight?
So good. Just looked it up actually while Carter was talking. If you had to put a number on how many days it's been since Trey Savage first stepped on the bump as an MLB pitcher, what would you guess?
What day is it today? 20th, I guess. So let's say 33 days.
I'm going to go with like 41. Oh, 41.
If you're watching this on Monday, obviously the podcast comes out on Monday, it will be 35 days.
Oh, there you go.
Since Trey Savage made his major league debut, sort of, in a minor league ballpark against the Tampa Bay Rays. It's kind of crazy. I don't think he has a pulse because you think about everything he's played at all these different levels this year. There's a little bit of pressure that comes with that, obviously. You make your MLB debut, probably the most pressure-packed moment of most major league players' career because, everyone does that at some point. You make a playoff start at home against the New York Yankees. You make an ALCS start, and now you do it with your team's back against the wall, and Trey Savage delivered at 22 years old. And he was asked in the post game about how does he kind of manage, the crowd and the pressure. And it's not, he said it, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, it's not about, managing, my anxiety with the crowd and the pressure. It's about how do I use it? And that's why I had a lot of confidence in this Blue Jays team tonight. And I will have that confidence in the Blue Jays on Monday in Game 7, because we are at the Rogers Center. We are the team with the most home victories in the major leagues this year. And I think, you saw the pressure on the Seattle Mariners. You look at Eugenio Suarez dropping that baseball when, it was Ernie Clement hitting it right to him, should have been a dead out. And that, that turns into an inning for the Blue Jays. 3 errors in total for the Mariners tonight. They did not look like the team that was up 3-2 in this series. And the Blue Jays have done what they've done all year, and they are such a fundamentally sound team. Elite defense, 5 Gold Glove finalists, and it showed tonight, in every facet of the game. We got big hits from guys. I think Addison Barger's really coming around the last couple of games in this series. Obviously, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is on another planet right now. He is the best hitter in baseball, except for Shohei Ohtani. On a night where Cal Raleigh went quiet, 0 for 4. Cal Raleigh has 3 home runs in this series. He also has 3 RBIs. The Blue Jays have managed his at-bats perfectly, and the Blue Jays have just done everything, in their control with the home crowd behind them. That's what 94 wins has done for this team, and they get to obviously maintain that home field advantage for the biggest game this franchise has played in 32 years tomorrow night.
Yeah, and you know what, Skylar, you mentioned Cal Raleigh, and that was a big talking point for us. You know, we were watching it, me, Carter, and Justin, as roommates, and the thing that kept popping up into my mind is what we always said about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., right? Can you show up in the big moments when the lights are the brightest? And we gave him a lot of grief, but he has been straight up fantastic. And Cal Raleigh, as good as he has been, this was a big moment. This was a moment that you expect your best player to step up and do something. But he did nothing. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. pimps a home run. He, with bases loaded, gets one stolen. That's a good play by Eugenio Suarez. I'm going to struggle with that one every time.
But I didn't think, like, where do we throw this A on there? Like, is that new this season? Or maybe I wasn't paying attention because I thought it was just Eugenio Suarez. And now we're throwing this A on there.
I think it's
Eugenio Suarez.
Eugenio for sure.
Eugenio
Yeah, you're
Suarez.
gonna struggle with that.
Lots of syllables.
Yeah, there's too many. I get the jumble mouth. Yeah, but you know what? He makes that play and takes a great at bat away from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who would have scored base runners on that. And that was a great hit. He hit it hard. He hit that ball hard. It was taken away. Me and Carter looked at each other and we're like, well, he hit that hard. Like, yeah, maybe you want him to punch a ball into the gap for sure, but
you want him to elevate the baseball. That's what you wanted. But.
Absolutely. And then he goes in the next at bat and does exactly that and sends a ball to the moon. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has shown up. He has been that guy. And right now, you know, if at the end of the day, this team goes on, he's going to be your choice for MVP. Now, you know, they still got a game to play and another team to get through. But this team now has, I think, the confidence going into Game 7. I think they know that they can beat anybody right now, and especially the Mariners after just doing that. And with Shane Bieber on the bump, I think that's huge. We'll talk about a little bit of that, more about that later. But just the rest of this offense, Carter, I mean, just how good they have been, right? From 1 to 9, like we always talk about.
Yeah, you talk about MVPs, and it has to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. when you're talking about the Blue Jays. But if Vladdy's not on this team, a guy that's a dark horse, and he shouldn't even really be a dark horse candidate, is Ernie Clement. This guy is absolutely ridiculous. Whether it's going the other way, whether it's fighting off tough pitches, whether it's taking absurd swings and still getting the barrel to the baseball, this guy is doing it in every single way. I have a stat here from Arden Zwelling. Highest batting average in a postseason, minimum 40 at-bats. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is at number 4. He's at 462. Ernie Clement at number 5 at 447. This guy's OPS is over 1100 at this point. Like, it's almost seeming like he's quietly putting up these numbers just because you have Vladdy, you have Kirk, you know, having these big at-bats. You have multiple guys throughout the order, as in Barger really stole the show offensively today, that Ernie Clement always seems to be like the second or third guy that you're talking about in a baseball game. But this is the guy that's always right in the middle of every single big inning. We look at the inning where they scored 2 runs, obviously taking advantage of the Mariners defense. Just want to backtrack. Eugenio Suarez, how does he make the Vladdy play, but he can't make the one that Ernie Clement hits right to him? Like, he, for some reason, looks to second to throw Dalton Varsho out. This guy's a veteran. He's played third base a long time. Don't know why you're doing that. But Ernie Clement finding himself right in the middle of the play once again. And even when he doesn't hit the ball as best he could, or maybe he gets a little bit unlucky and he hits a ball hard, right? Eugenio Suarez, he's hustling out. He's hustling as hard as he can, full on effort, and he beats it out. And obviously that is a massive point in the game for the Toronto Blue Jays. But yeah, whether it's Vladdy, whether it's Kirk, Ernie Clement, Barger in this game, we needed the offense to show up, and they did that for the Blue Jays in Game 6. So going to Game 7, you got to have faith in Shane Bieber. The bullpen, for me, like we took Trey Savage out, and I don't know if it's just because Trey Savage is that electric, but I was terrified watching some of these bullpen arms kind of go at it. But you kind of have an idea of what the bullpen's going to do. You have an idea of what Shane Bieber's going to do. This entire year, it's been reliant on the offense. If the offense shows up once again in Game 7, I'm very confident that the Toronto Blue Jays will be in the World Series against the juggernaut team, the Dodgers, but we'll worry about that when we get there.
Yeah, it's just tough, right? Because we look back at this series, and it's been such different baseball. It seems like from each 2-game span, right? You got the Mariners that come out and look like, oh my God, and shock the world and scared Blue Jays fans half to death, and then the Blue Jays punch back. And I think that's the biggest thing I take away from this is this team's always ready to punch back. They're never gonna lie down and accept defeat. They're gonna keep going.
Mike Vrabel gets his revenge down in Tennessee as the Pats dominate the Titans.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast.
The defense, they flipped the switch. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, and for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast is a proud partner of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And don't forget, as you watch here live or maybe on demand, if you're watching on YouTube, to hit that thumbs up, give us a like, hit that like button, throw a comment in, and also do not forget to subscribe as we inch closer to 7 1,000 subs. Before we talk about this game, I want to tell you that today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I'm going to get into Drake May. We're going to talk all about Drake May. I've got some astounding numbers for you regarding what May did today and what we've seen from Drake May now through 7 weeks in the 2025 season. We are going to get to Drake May. However, I want to start with the defense. The Jekyll and Hyde defense continues for the Patriots. It was another rough start. I'm tweeting at Nick C Radio. Here we go again. A terrible start by this defense. Rinse and repeat every single week. The Tennessee Titans come out. They score 10 points on their first 2 drives. You had a 20-yard gain. You had an 18-yard gain. And you had the 38-yard touchdown throw by Cam Ward. That's not what you want to see to start out a game. And it feels like every week, this defense, for whatever reason, starts off slow. They didn't get much pressure in that first half, at least through the first quarter and a half. They didn't get much pressure. Their man coverage was getting beat. Marcus Jones got beat on the touchdown. And, you look at the Christian Gonzalez versus Van Jefferson play on third down when Van Jefferson beats Christian Gonzalez man coverage for 15 yards on a 3rd and 3. And you're just looking at this game and you're wondering, are we going to have this happen again? Are we going to have another slow start for this defense to flip a switch at halftime and look completely different in the second half? Because you usually don't see defenses that consistently do that. You'll see it every once in a while. You're looking at Marcus Jones, who's been one of the best players on this team this year, getting beat early in this game for that touchdown with Craig Woodson also spinning around like a top in the secondary on the back end at safety. And you see your best cornerback and Christian Gonzalez get beat by, at best, a 2B receiver in Van Jefferson on a 3rd down. And you're just wondering, is this the game? Is this the game that the defense plays like this, not only in the first half, not only in the first couple of quarters, the first 2.5 quarters, but is this the game where the defense just doesn't step up and we have a close game that shouldn't be close until the end of the 4th quarter because they just can't figure things out? Cam Ward in those first 2 drives, he was 6 for 7, 101 yards, a touchdown. His passer rating was 158.3. It's absurd. Cam Ward was on fire to start this game. But then the Patriots defense and Zach Core and Mike Vrabel, they flipped the switch. Starting on the last drive for the Titans, in that, second quarter, it was domination from that Patriots defense. Absolute domination from the tail end of the second quarter through the end of this football game. Started with a 3-and-out. You had the 3-and-out, and then you had a scoop and score from K'Lavon Chaisson. I don't know what happened to Cam Ward on that play. He just fumbled the football, but it was a great pressure by K'Lavon Chaisson. Tennessee, for some reason, they try to block K'Lavon Chaisson with a wide receiver. That didn't work out. Spoiler alert. Chaisson beats him, gets to Cam Ward. Cam Ward's backpedaling, fumbles the football. K'Lavon Chaisson picks up the fumble, scoop and score, and that's when you felt like this game was over. I had questioned whether or not Tennessee, if the Patriots could play some consistent defense. I questioned on Friday during the preview show if the Titans were going to be able to score enough points. That was always my question about this football game. And the answer was no, because after that fast start, after the first couple drives, after scoring 13 points in the first half, they could not do anything against the Patriots defense in the second half. So you had a 3-and-out, you had the scoop and score, you had 4 plays that resulted in a punt, and Tennessee could not score. The Patriots defense shut them down. And I really think it began up front, which is not a surprise. The Patriots defensive line has been the most consistent part of this defense from day one. The Patriots defensive line continues to win. They might not win every week early. They might not win for all 4 quarters, but they're going to win the matchup. And we saw that again against the Titans. The defensive line won the matchup. And what you saw in that second half was pressure. Pressure from the Patriots front. K'Lavon Chaisson was a beast. He had a fantastic game. He was a nightmare up front for the Tennessee offensive line. He had a couple of sacks. He had that scoop and score. He had another 1 or 2 impact plays in this game. So K'Lavon Chaisson played well. Harold Landry had a sack, thanks in part to Christian Barmore. They ran a stunt, and Barmore kind of drew the attention, and Landry looped all the way around and had that sack on Cam Ward in the second half. But you had plays from K'Lavon Chaisson, Harold Landry, Milton Williams. Milton Williams had a sack in the second half, a dominant rep, and you had Christian Barmore again being a headache. That's the heart of this defense. I thought the secondary, especially at cornerback with Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez and Marcus Jones, were going to be the heart of this defense, or at least play as well as the front. And it really hasn't been the case. Not to say that the defensive backs have been terrible. They haven't. Christian Gonzalez has been okay, if not good. Carlton Davis has been up and down. I think Marcus Jones, until giving up that touchdown today, has been terrific. But this defensive front, man, it is very tough for any offensive line to get footing against them. They will constantly attack and play violent football. And in the second half, what did you see? In the second half, you saw a Tennessee Titans offense that could not create any explosive plays. In the first half, Tennessee, they had some success with play action. They had success with play action to the middle of the football field in the passing game. And that did not happen in the second half. In the second half, the Patriots shut that down. No explosive plays from Tennessee. Cam Ward was a little bit shaky in the pocket. They got that pressure consistently in the second half, and it was a different football game. And they created turnovers. You had the K'Lavon Chaisson scoop and score. Marcus Jones, late in the fourth quarter, comes up with the interception off the deflection. Cam Ward throws it behind the intended receiver, and it deflects right into the hands. Nice little diving play by Marcus Jones. He comes up with the pick. So creating turnovers. And once again, the one thing about this defense that has been consistent from beginning to end, you can't run against this team. The Patriots' run defense is unreal at this point. And they've played some pretty good run offenses. Don't get it twisted. Carolina can run the football. Rico Dowdle can run the football. Buffalo can run the football. But this Patriots defense, they've been Jekyll and Hyde in the secondary. They've been Jekyll and Hyde at linebacker. But they have been able to dominate no matter who's trying to run the football. And that was, again, the case today against Tennessee. They shut down that run game. Taylor Kyles from CLNS posted, the run defense for the Patriots officially has not allowed a single explosive since week 4. They're not giving up 10-yard runs. They're not giving up any explosive plays in the run game. They are shutting run game down, and they are forcing every team that they play against to be one-dimensional. Now, why is the difference? I don't know. Mike Vrabel in the postgame has said, we've got to start faster. We want to start faster. Why does the defense need 3 or 4 drives to get going? I have no clue. But the most important thing is they get it going. Another team held under 20 points, which has been the calling card for this defense. It might look rocky at the beginning, but they settle down. They make some adjustments. They get out in the second half, and they end up looking like a totally different defense, and they make it hard on offenses. And that was the case again in Tennessee in that second half. So Jekyll and Hyde, but certainly good enough, only giving up 13 points, getting sacks, getting pressure, creating turnovers. So overall, a good day for the defense if you just forget about the first few drives, which I feel like maybe we should just do anyway. Maybe we should just do that every week and expect this Patriots defense to give up some points the first couple of drives, and then we start grading them on what they do about middle of the second quarter. Maybe that's the best way how to do this. But they figured it out again, and they were excellent in the second half.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
Glenn Schumann's a liability. Gunnar Stockton needs to be in New York for the Heisman, and this was the most chaotic game I've ever been to in my entire life.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs.
Clint, I think it's fair to say you and I just had the perfect day in Athens, Georgia.
We had the perfect day. Started off with a nice little saunter around campus. Got to see College Game Day in action.
Got there early. Got
to meet a bunch of y'all, which was
a blast.
So great.
A blast.
Got to go tailgating.
Had a great time.
Had a great time.
Morris Hall knows how to do it.
They do know how to do it. Then we got into the stadium.
Yeah.
Daniel got some good seats.
Yeah, we had great seats.
And that's
when the day took a bit of a turn, if I could. That's when we started watching Georgia get absolutely pummeled, manhandled, slapped around like a rag doll, beaten like a rented mule by Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. They were having their way with this Georgia defense. We're not going to start with how bad Glenn Schumann is. But Glenn Schumann's so bad. He's really, really bad. But that whole time that the Georgia defense was absolutely defecating on the bed, this Georgia offense, Clint, we watched drive after drive after drive after drive where Mike Bobo and Gunnar Stockton put together a performance, the likes of which, I'm not exaggerating, I've never seen in the history of my Georgia fandom. We scored every time we had the ball.
No, you mean scoring opportunities? You mean got to the red zone every time?
No. We put points on the board every time we had the ball until we took a knee and ended the game at the end. There were some penalties that hurt us.
Very weird ones.
We had to kick up some field goals that I wish we didn't have to kick. But we didn't have 3 and outs. We didn't have turnovers. We didn't punt the ball one time. We scored points every time we touched the ball. And the offense single-handedly not only saved Georgia's season, but kept us in this game and gave us a reason to believe that this team could possibly do something special this year.
I need everyone to, it's not an argument anymore. We're not based upon opinion. No. This isn't how you feel.
It's not called the reaction show, y'all.
These are 2 facts.
Okay, let's hear facts. Facts, we know, based on Auburn fans, facts have a tendency to hurt people.
They do.
They have a tendency, and you might be one of those people. So just brace yourself.
Mike Bobo is a fantastic, elite, top-level offensive coordinator. Not in the SEC, in college football.
Well, that's odd.
He single-handedly kept draining the clock, scoring points, when the best wide receiver on the team went out with an injury, probably for the year, in Colby Young. Devastating. Continuing with a rotation of offensive line, which this is the first time we've had 6 players healthy and whole, with a stable of running backs that are new and injured. Chauncey last week, Nate with the fumbling issues. He's an elite play caller in all of college football, draining the clock, scoring points, explosive threats, wide receiver, 9 targets to tight ends, running backs averaging over 4 or 5 yards per carry. Gunnar Stockton going over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 84% completion percentage.
26 of 31, y'all. For Gunnar Stockton, 26 of 31. Ole Miss scored. Okay.
Thing one, Mike Bobo is elite, top level OC.
That's the first fact that's going to hurt some
Thing two,
people.
Gunnar Stockton is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC and in the nation. And if you wanted anybody else, a backup on Georgia or a starter for another team, you were dead wrong, and he doesn't fault you. He just wants you to know you're dead wrong, and I want you to know you're dead. Gunnar is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
Yeah, he's way better than Arch Manning, who you cried about not getting. He's way better than Carson Beck, who you cried about leaving. He's way better than Dylan Raiola, who you cried about not getting. It turns out that Gunnar is way better at football than any of those guys, and football is the thing that he does.
So he just wins games, doesn't throw interceptions, runs and throws for touchdowns instead.
What if I told you that he had 5 incompletions, and this week Carson Beck playing at home had 4 interceptions? 5 incompletions. 4 interceptions. Do you see the point that we're trying to make here?
See what we're doing here?
Okay. The Georgia offense just kept on rolling out the points. You understand? Like, the offensive line, you mentioned 6 guys healthy. Clint, I think that's huge. Colby Young goes down with an injury. But what do we see? We see more tight end involvement in this game. Would we have seen so much targeting of Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky if Colby Young hadn't gotten injured on the second play of the game or whatever? We don't know. We saw more tight end involvement. We saw another catch by Nate Frazier out of the backfield, something that it's like we only wanted to throw it to Cash Jones, and that's it. Until the last couple of weeks, all of a sudden Auburn and now Ole Miss, we're throwing it to Nate Frazier out of the backfield. Nate Frazier had an incredible game running the football paired with Chauncey Bowens. It was all clicking on the offensive side of the ball. This is one of the best Georgia offenses I have ever seen.
Yes, because again, I don't want to belabor the point, but you try to load the box to stop the run game.
Sure.
I get it. I understand. Hey, why don't you hit him with a quick screen and watch Zachariah Branch do okey doke all around y'all all day long?
By the way, the quick screen haters. I don't know where.
Daniel,
I don't know where.
I'm just getting this in. I'm hearing silence on that end.
Yeah. It turns out the quick screen haters and the Mike Bobo haters just won.
So you hit them on the quick screen to get out and going. What if they press up?
Pro press coverage. Uh-oh.
Okay, why don't we just watch seam routes and London Humphreys, and we send Zachariah Branch, and we send Noah Thomas, and we send Elias Williams.
Oh, we got guys wide open over the middle. Oh, well, what if they bring the safeties down in the middle of the field, and we've got to go over the top to the outside? Do we have anybody who makes unbelievable circus one-handed catches while there's guys draped all over his body now multiple times?
50-50 ball on the outside?
Dylan Bell, listen, come in close.
Please.
We are sorry about everything that Clint has said about you, Dylan Bell.
We're as sorry as I look as ugly in person. That's how sorry we are.
Listen, it's sorry. Okay, if you weren't with us today at the tailgate, it's sorry. The Georgia offense, Clint, saved our season tonight.
Literally, this is overreaction.
Yeah,
that's not overreaction.
No, you go 5-2 with this schedule, and you're talking about this defense is going to have to go undefeated the rest of the way. I got bad news for you, Georgia fans. Florida, I'm scared to death. Texas, I'm scared to death. Mississippi State, I'm legitimately nervous.
That's a good offensive
Georgia Tech, I'm legitimately nervous / scared to death. Georgia's not going undefeated the rest of the way. All right, 10-2.
One of those.
10-2. Make the college football playoff. That's what we said we needed to do. The Georgia offense saving this game in a setting where we saw 5 consecutive offensive possessions for Ole Miss and touchdowns, and it wasn't even really that close, Clint.
No.
In a game like that, we're going to talk about the defense in the next segment. What the Georgia offense did not only won us this game, but it saved the season. It kept all of our hopes alive, and it made you start to think, I know the defense. I know the defense.
We're all very well acquainted right now.
But this offense makes you think this Georgia team could be something legitimately special.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
The Cardinals pick off Carson Beck not once, not twice, but 4 times on Friday night.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals.
I don't know about you all, but I am still over the moon after this victory. Here we are a couple days later, and just the vibes, the morale from the fan base, just got a jolt of adrenaline. It's awesome to see, and I'm hoping that this is one of those building or the foundation building victories for the team as they go into the back half of the schedule. They've got Boston College this weekend, and we will, of course, preview that matchup when it comes. But looking at this game from Friday, and I went back and rewatched it, and after the second watch, I came away even more impressed than I was in real time with the Cardinals defense. All season long, it's been, Louisville bent and didn't break. There have been a couple possessions in almost every game where you're like, man, that was a really tough look for Ron English's unit. But when you look at the overall body of work, it's really hard to complain. This was the most impressive performance from the Cardinals defense, maybe in Ron English's tenure here since Jeff Brom's been back. It was a spectacular performance. They gave up 21 points. Even more impressive when you consider that 7 of those points, technically 8 of those points, because they got the 2-point conversion. 8 of those points came from the short field. Isaac Brown fumbles the ball. Miami starts their drive inside the Louisville 15. It's really hard to stop an offense like that when they start their own drive in your own red zone. But anyway, Louisville's defense bent but didn't break at times. They had some rough plays. They gave up some big plays. But for the most part, 334 total yards given up, 271 passing, and only 63 rushing. 21 points is the lowest amount of points that Miami has scored this season. And a lot of that is because of the turnovers. Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions on Friday night. Now, most of the Miami fan base will tell you that, Carson Beck gave the game away to the Cardinals. He gifted them 4 turnovers. And let's go through the interceptions because, there is some truth to it. I think Beck made some bad decisions. He made some bad throws. But you got to give Louisville credit for forcing him to do that. And even though the pass rush didn't get home a ton, the pressures were there. The first interception was in the first quarter. Beck throws it deep. It looks like it's almost triple coverage, and 50-50 Antonio Watson goes up, makes an impressive catch, and comes down with the interception. A little bit underthrown, sort of like the second one. Pass is underthrown slightly. Jabari Mack makes a great play on the football and wins the 50-50 battle. The third interception came in the second half from JoJo Evans, and it was a couple plays after Carson Beck had thrown his third interception. And then all of a sudden, you knew it. You knew it when the ACC officials huddled up. And you're like, oh, goodness, they're huddling up. Cleb Lubin hit Carson Beck almost simultaneously after the throw. Didn't seem like there was much extracurriculars to the pressure, but they huddled up after the fact and dropped the roughing the passer flag. Everyone on social media, outside of Miami fans, were like, here we go. 2024 ACC officials once again working to get Miami to the playoff. And then in an ultimate ball don't lie moment, Carson Beck throws his second third interception, this time to JoJo Evans. And I think a lot of this was because of the interior pressure. Louisville got home to Carson Beck from the middle of that defensive line, and it forced him to release the ball sooner. He throws, I would say, an ill-advised pass into pretty much double coverage, and JoJo Evans intercepts the pass. The fourth interception, I don't know if this is AI, but if that interview is real where Carson Beck says, there's a miscommunication, tight end ran the wrong route. Regardless, the ball is partially tipped. Even if it wasn't, TJ Capers was in a fantastic spot, made a shoestring catch. Great focus. And he seals the game with the fourth interception. The Cardinals on Friday night had a coverage grade of 86.3. That is a very, very solid coverage grade against a good Miami offense, because we heard all week about how Louisville's defense did not stand a chance. They didn't stand a chance. Miami was the most physical team that Louisville would see by far. They would get dominated in the trenches. They wouldn't be able to cover Miami's skill position guys. And to be fair, Malachi Toney is an absolute star. And Carson Beck was going to pick them apart. They weren't going to be able to stop the Miami offense from running the football. And looking at this, Miami ran the ball for 63 yards on Friday night. And the Cardinals didn't register a single sack. So that doesn't incorporate any sack yardage into the equation. They had 2.6 yards per carry. Mark Fletcher, 8 for 18. Jordan Lau, 5 for 15. Shamar Brown, 3 for 9. And I saw Miami fans complaining about the offensive play calling, and there is some truth to that, because Miami just seemingly didn't want to try to establish the run early in series. So maybe there's some complaints there. But I felt like the interior of Louisville's defensive line deserves a good amount of praise from this performance, because even though they didn't get a sack, the Cardinals' defensive line stood pat. They were solid in defending the run. Like, the run defense was a 63.6 grade. And I don't agree with everything PFF says. I think it is a metric, not the metric. I use it to support what I see watching the games. But I think that the run defense was much better than the 63.6 grade. Tackling 52.7, I think that was a little low. Pass rush 67.8, which is an average grade. And for a team that got no sacks, I think that that's pretty justified. But the interior got home. Clev Lubin was disruptive. Wesley Bailey was disruptive. But even though they weren't turning those into sacks, because Miami's offensive line is very, very good, what they did do was speed up Carson Beck. And that was a point of emphasis going into this weekend. It's like, hey, look, you needed to make Carson Beck uncomfortable, because coming into the game, he was getting a clean pocket on pretty much 85% of his dropbacks. He had been sacked 4 times in the first 5 games. Miami's offensive line still did what they needed to do, but the Cardinals got more pressure. Carson Beck didn't seem interested in going with the checkdowns, and maybe that's a reason for it. Tried to go for the home run ball, and Louisville was really solid in the secondary. And there are a lot of kudos that you have to give. Over 10 players recorded at least 3 tackles. TJ Quinn, D'Angelo Hutchinson, Jordan Girard, Tay Holloway, JoJo Evans, Renee Conga, Antonio Watts, Jabari Mack, TJ Capers, Clev Lubin, Caleb Perry, Wesley Bailey. Like, this was a great performance from all 3 levels of the defense. The defensive line, the linebacking core, and the secondary. Like, I credit to them. Credit to Ron English as well. And we're going to we gave some credit to him on Friday. Going to continue to give him his flowers, because there was a ton of criticism over the offseason when he got brought back for a 3rd season, and myself included, right? So I will happily eat crow, but as loud as the criticism was, I think the praise has to be just as loud, if not louder. He has turned things around, I think, in the name of just keeping things simple, better communication. The defense showed improvement when he wasn't up in the box last year, but down on the field. Just overall, excited about what we've seen through the first 6 games. This is a top 20 defense that the Cardinals are putting out on the field every single week, and it's time to start admitting that. So huge amounts of credit to the Cardinals defense.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets come to terms on a very team-friendly contract extension. Let's get to the breaking news. We'll get to the language here on it from Shams Charania himself. Houston Rockets star Kevin Durant has agreed to a 2-year, $90 million contract extension with the franchise. His business partner and boardroom CEO Rich Kleiman tells ESPN. The new deal includes a player option in the final year of the contract, so 27-28 season. Durant was eligible for a max extension of $120 million, but understood when he chose the Rockets as a trade destination that he'd be sacrificing money, in this case around $30 million less, so that the sides can partner for the long term and give the franchise team building flexibility. Last thing here from Shams. Kevin Durant now holds the record for the highest career earnings in NBA history at $598.2 million based on current and future salaries, surpassing LeBron James, who's currently at $583.9 million. He has a total of 3 years and $144.7 million on his current contract. That was a mouthful to get through. All right. This is incredible news for the Rockets, because you could have gone into the season without having, the extension figured out with KD, and they could have done the extension at some point in the middle of the season. Like, this isn't the same situation as the Tari thing where there's like a deadline, a cutoff on inking the extension. They could have continued these negotiations, but getting it done before the season just removes that little bit of a cloud that could have been lingering over, or like maybe if things start to go awry really early on in the season and things don't look as good as both sides thought they would, obviously Kevin Durant's side and the Rocket side, right? Maybe the marriage isn't as productive as everybody thought that it would be. There still could have been that out, right? KD would have only been under contract for this season. If things got really, really bad in Houston, he could have been like, you know what? We tried, cool. I made a pit stop and now I'm going to go find a different place. This shows commitment on both sides, in particular from Kevin Durant's side, that he is sacrificing a lot of money to give the Rockets the financial flexibility that they need moving forward to continue to field a team that both Kevin and obviously the organization feels like is a championship caliber roster. That is a lot of cheddar cheese to give up. I know it's funny. We're talking about like, he just got like 2 years, 90 million guaranteed. And we're like, oh my God, pay cut. Like that's, generational wealth money right there for a lot of people. But to give up $30 million total, $15 million a year against what he could have been making on a max contract. That's the difference between adding, between KD getting just top dollar versus being able to add or retain, a legitimate like seventh man rotation guy, MLE level player off the bench. Like that's a legitimate game changing, team changing amount of money to be able to keep off of KD's book and be able to reallocate somewhere else, maybe to a guy like Tari Eason down the line. We'll talk about him in a little bit. So big time kudos to Kevin Durant, his camp, and the Rockets for being able to come to terms on a deal that, when we first started talking about the idea that KD might be willing to take a pay cut, the number we threw out there was like $100 million across 2 years, right? That would have been a $10 million pay cut. And even that felt like kind of a stretch. Like that's an 8-figure pay cut across 2 seasons at the end of this player's career. But at this point, And Kevin Durant did confirm this the other day, and I forget if it was via Starting Five or via SI Now, but basically he said he wants to retire in Houston, right? He feels good about being in Texas again. He loves it here. He feels at home here. And it very much feels like this is a partnership that looks like this is going to be the final stop of Kevin Durant's career. And hopefully it's a productive stop with at least a title or two along the way. And by sacrificing this money, Kevin gives the Rockets that financial flexibility to be able to continue to field the right championship caliber roster around him to give them ultimately the best shot at winning a title. And look, as long as KD and the Rockets aren't aspiring to plant any trees anytime soon, this is a fantastic deal for both sides, right? And it shows a level of sacrifice and commitment to the idea of winning from Kevin and from his camp. And it shows that the Rockets, well, now the Rockets have to hold up their end of the bargain, right? They have to figure out what they're going to allocate that money to. And maybe it's Tari Eason. Maybe they strike terms on a deal ahead of the deadline Monday evening, and they lock down Tari Eason long term. And maybe this is the nudge that they needed to be able to get that final deal done. I kind of expected that they would finish the Tari deal first and then get the Kevin Durant deal done. But as we're going to take a look here in just a moment at the financials of the Rockets moving forward, maybe it kind of worked out in their favor that they finished off the Kevin Durant deal, and now they're able to pivot and go back to Tari and his camp and say, hey, this is what we have. This is our financial roadmap for the next few years. This is where you fit in. Either take it or leave it. And that's going to be, and then it'll be up to Tari Eason to decide whether he wants to be a part of this contending level, championship level Rockets team, or if he wants to potentially take his talents elsewhere. So fantastic news for the Rockets to get this done ahead of the regular season. Very exciting stuff all around. The Rockets now have 9 guys under guaranteed contract for next season. And I say guaranteed. Fred VanVleet does have a player option on his contract for that $25 million, but Fred's going to opt into that, so that's pretty much a guarantee at this point. So KD will be the highest paid player at $45 million. Alperen Sengun clocks in at second at $35.6 million. Fred is at $25 million. Jabari at $23.6. And then we're down to kind of the role players, and then Amin Thompson, who's going to be on the final leg of his rookie extension, with Dorian Finney-Smith at 13.3, Steven Adams at 13, Amin will be making 12.2, Reed Shepherd 11.1, and then Clint Capella just over $7 million, assuming all 9 of those guys are still on the roster as of next offseason, which currently leaves Tari Eason as a projected restricted free agent, which hopefully, fingers crossed, is not the case. And we'll talk about his contract stuff here in just a second, as well as Aaron Holiday, Josh Okogie, Jayshawn Tate, and Jeff Green coming in as unrestricted free agents, because all of them are signed to currently just 1-year vet minimum deals. So what does this all mean for the Rockets and kind of their financial outlook moving forward? First off, the numbers to really pay attention to here. This past offseason, we talked a lot about the first apron and the Rockets being hard capped at the first apron. They are likely going to have to operate as an above the first apron team this next offseason. The only reason they're not doing so this offseason, as a quick refresher, is the sign and trade deal that they made for Clint Capella. Any sign and trade deal automatically hard caps you at the first apron, meaning you cannot go even $1 over that number. And I actually can't remember off the top of my head if like the way that they orchestrated the KD deal also technically counted as a triggering of the first apron. I don't think it did. But anyways, basically the moves that the Rockets made this offseason put a hard cap on what they could spend on their roster this season, which is why they're in the position where even though they have the 15th roster spot open, they literally cannot go out and sign somebody because they do not have the money to do so. They will be able to go sign somebody for a prorated vet minimum deal as soon as January 8th, I believe. So that'll be the earliest that the Rockets can go out. And if there's somebody on the free agency market that is down to sign a vet minimum deal to come to Houston, they can grab that person and bring them in if they want like an additional ball handler or guard, whoever's out there, right? So that is still a possibility down the line. But as it pertains to what the Rockets have under contract moving forward, those 9 guys that we just named off, and the question mark regarding Tari Eason and his future deal, what it means is basically the Rockets have up to about $25 million a year to offer to Tari Eason via rookie scale extension.